That's Kevin Morris. It's pictured alongside Hunter Biden. We've been working with Kevin Morris's attorney to bring him in, but they told us that he is out of the country on vacation between Thanksgiving and New Year's. However, it sure doesn't look like he's out of the country. And what's so important for us to get to the details there is the IRS whistleblowers have highlighted where Kevin Morris paid almost $2 million of Hunter Biden's taxes, plus an additional almost $3 million just to subsidize Hunter Biden's lifestyle. What's also important is these IRS whistleblowers released an email from Kevin Morris to Hunter Biden's tax preparer 3 weeks before Super Tuesday in 2020 saying that they must pay these tax returns or there will be great political risk. The only political risk is Joe Biden.
And that was House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Jason Smith joining me on Sunday Morning Futures yesterday, calling out Hunter Biden's so-called sugar brother, Kevin Morris, a Hollywood mega attorney who paid millions of dollars for Hunter's taxes and also his lavish living. Despite only knowing him for 2 months, Morris was seen standing with Hunter at the Capitol last week. Smith told me that Morris told his committee that he couldn't do an interview, a deposition. They asked him to do one, but he said he was overseas on vacation and he was not going to be in the country from Thanksgiving to New Year's. And yet there he is in Washington, standing with Eric Swalwell behind Hunter Biden during that stunt last week. President Biden's daughter, meanwhile, Ashley Biden, owes $5,000 in income taxes dating back to 2015, we learned. Fox News Digital obtained a tax lien docket sent by the Pennsylvania Department of Revenue to Ashley Biden in December. Joining me right now is North Carolina Congressman Greg Murphy, a member of the House Ways and Means Committee, as well as the GOP Doctors Caucus co-chairman. Congressman, it's great to see you. Thanks very much for being here this morning.
Good morning, Maria. Good to see you.
Well, it's incredible to me that, President Biden likes to blame everybody else for tax evasion. And yet, look at this situation that we're watching. His son, Hunter Biden, apparently is looking at some tax evasion charges potentially from House Republicans. And you also have now Ashley Biden owing taxes.
It's a family affair. It's a family affair. And, it's amazing, Maria, that it just gets more insane every single day how corrupt. Not only it goes from the top to the bottom. It goes from Joe all the way to his brother, his son, now his daughter, on how they flaunt the American laws. And again, remember, Joe, how many times has he said, we want people to, quote, pay their fair share? Right. Well, his family doesn't do it, especially Hunter. And then when Kevin Morris jumped in and just throws money to try to make Hunter's business problems go away, it's even more comical.
Yeah, I mean, we were with your colleague yesterday, Jason Smith, and it was your committee, I guess, that asked Kevin Morris to speak to you in an interview, but he told your committee that he was traveling, and then Jason Smith tells me, well, isn't this interesting? He told us he was traveling overseas, and there he is, right under my nose in Washington on the Senate side during Hunter Biden's press conference.
Yeah, there needs to be ramifications for that because he's not come in. The whole thing's dirty, Maria. You can't even get around this. There's not one semblance of innocence here. It just continues. And then for Eric Swalwell, good Lord, Bang Bang's friend over there that is in part of this gaggle of corruption. I mean, it's sad. It's just comically sad and really goes to the big guy. Remember, 10% goes to the big guy. This is where 40,000 went to Big Joe. And we're unraveling the puzzle, getting closer and closer to really connecting the entire dots. I know there are a couple of Republican senators that don't feel that's the case. I don't think they're informed, really, of the information that we've seen and how much this is really pointing out that Joe, during his vice presidency, sold the office. We know that Joe probably didn't think he was going to run for president, so he used the last 2 years of his vice presidency to basically sell his brand. Hunter really benefited from that, and Joe was going to reap in after he was out of office. But now that he's president of the United States, the corruption that was done while he was vice president is all coming back to bite him in the you-know-where.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more concerned with the fact that communist China wants to overtake the United States as the #1 superpower, and they're throwing all these soft attacks at us. From surveillance, like that surveillance balloon, to propaganda through TikTok and other means, and here we have this this conversation taking place on whether or not this president is compromised, because your committee has uncovered all of these millions of dollars that the Biden family has taken in. Liz Peek, jump in here.
Absolutely.
This is a national security risk, Liz.
It is absolutely a national security risk. The more we can trace money coming from China to various Biden family members. Remember, Maria, that during the debate, Joe Biden declared that his son had never taken money and the family had never taken money from China. That's obviously the case. Congressman, I'm wondering, what do we make of the Biden daughter not paying her taxes? Is that because she didn't declare income coming in from dubious sources, or what is the explanation for that? And as far as Hunter Biden receiving millions of dollars from someone he barely knew, certainly that seems like a very weird situation. And I wonder what you all think about that.
Well, it's very interesting because each of these transactions are taxable transactions. If you loan somebody, when the $200,000 went to Joe and it was written as a quote loan, you and I could write a check to somebody and say loan at the bottom of it. But unless you gain interest on that loan, unless you pay taxes on that interest, you're in violation of the United States tax law, period. You go back and you look at all the things that we're looking at with China. Not only are they corrupting or paying money off to our vice president, the second highest leader in the country at the time, through his son, and gaining all the other benefits. Look at the Chinese nationals coming in, as Maria just pointed out. One thing also, we've had an 800+% in the amount of fentanyl caught during the Biden administration that was caught in 2019. And if you don't think that's not coming from China, let me just educate you a little bit. They're doing all the precursors. So they're actively bringing people in the country who we know will do us harm, and they're also killing Americans on a daily basis in this country.
Wow.
We are at war. I've said this many, many times. We are at war with China. They know it. We just don't wake up and smell the coffee and realize it because of what Joe's doing.
Well, they're certainly acting like it, sending a surveillance balloon, police stations, stealing intellectual property, sending Chinese nationals through the border, but we're not having any response whatsoever. Congressman, what do you make of these new polls?
No, and it's
Fox. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, no. It's just very interesting that Biden, during his presidency, has failed to condemn China.
Right.
Failed to condemn them. He hush-hushed with Fauci because Fauci lied. Fauci knew that the whole virus came from China. He's been absolutely complicit, saying Joe Biden, in the fact that China wants to attack this country and not do anything about it. He will go down as the greatest failed presidency in the history of this nation.
Well, we've got these new Fox News polls as finds voters are split on the Biden impeachment. 49% say they believe the Republicans' investigation is legitimate. That number is up 2 points since September, Congressman, but you've got 66% of voters say they believe Hunter Biden is being treated fairly by the justice system. The New York Post editorial board calling on the DOJ to prosecute Hunter Biden for contempt. That's similar to how they went after Trump officials Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro for defying congressional subpoenas. But I don't think they're going to have the same fate as Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon, Congressman.
Well, no, because on CNN, I spoke a few weeks ago, and one of their guys, I can't even remember who, tried to harass me about saying I would find Hunter in contempt versus Steve Bannon. They're two entirely different situations. One was a made-up charges against President Trump, and something here with Hunter is absolutely verifiable. We have all the files. Thank God that, number one, we were in the majority, albeit slim. Two, Hunter screwed up with his laptop. So many things that point directly to complicity, not only with the DOJ, and with our own IRS and trying to hide these things, but directly, they will go directly to the vice presidency.
Yep. All right, Congressman, we will leave it there. It's great to see you this morning, sir. Thank you.
Have a great day, Maria.
And to you, sir.